am Amy, and I am creator and founder of Temple of She, which is my spiritual entrepreneurial business.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a place where women can come to explore themselves as a spiritual and sexual being, and what that means for them, and that relationship between the two, and what blocks and fears they've got in the road, because so many women are willing to work on their spirituality, but there's this big brick wall when it comes to their sexuality.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk to you today. I'm sweating.
Yeah, everything that I offer in the Temple of She is about creating a space for a woman to come in and explore that in whatever way she feels most safe and comfortable to do so.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So, I mean, I want to get straight into it because I know Amy through our beautiful mentor, Ricky Jane Adams, and we have gone to dinner and hung out and things like that in Melbourne, so we're pretty much BFFs. But the essence of your work that I know that this has also come from, correct me if I'm wrong, but is a part of your doula work and your midwifery, I can't say that word, doula work.
Yeah, so for 10 years I've been a midwife and sort of travelled all over the world with that, and been on my own journey, offering that service to women and understanding how sacred birth is, and that birth is actually this process where a woman is bringing another soul into this existence. And it is such an incredibly powerful moment in her life. And I came to see it as this massive transformation. And my job was to hold space for that transformation to take place, because what I learned when it wasn't treated as sacred and worshipped and absolutely revered, it was completely dominated by the patriarch and could turn into the most traumatic experience of a woman's lifetime.
Yes.
So my job was to hold space for that, for the transformation for the woman, to allow her wild woman to come in and birth her baby and just really embody what that experience was for her. And as I did that, I was constantly coming up against the system, the politics, the patriarchal system where women give birth, and just society's underlying fear around birth and maternity care and health care and health practitioners and medical practitioners. And eventually it got to the point where I sort of went through my own dark night of the soul, going through a modern day witch hunt, which is 100% very much still alive. And it was probably the hardest 12 months I've ever experienced, but going through that has been my transformation and has birthed me out the other side, offering this incredible service now with the solid foundation of the last 10 years of my life as a midwife. So I've really taken it and expanded it, and now I work and hold space for all women, not just women who are physically becoming mothers.
I just don't even know where to start, because I'm just like, oh my goodness, like I want to tap into just a couple of things. First, the process of birth. Oh my God, I watched my sister, she invited me to be present at her birth, and she had a home birth, and I just was like, I just bowed down to her, because the level of grace that she had and was able to hold in terms of having that experience was just like so beyond the power that I had ever experienced. And I was just so all up in it, because I could feel God, I could feel the power of the divinity of that magnificent process being in form. And so that totally switched it for me, as well as, spirituality is beyond what we even know to be true now. It's an absolute creation process that still our human mind cannot quite try and identify. But anyway, that was just my little experience that I wanted to share with you. So, okay, we've talked about it a little bit now. So for those of you who are watching, throw a few hearts around, comments below if you're mothers, If you feel empowered to share any experience as to any your birthing experience, please pop them in the comments below. This is a super safe community, and I'm sure if you have any questions that Amy will absolutely be able to come through later on and give you some deep dive mentoring around that. But now let's move into where you're working now, which is the Temple of She, and how you're working with women beyond birth and women in the sacred space of sexuality and spirituality. Okay, so first question, where we've sort of talked about how you've gone through your own birthing process, birthing process of this work. So tell us a little bit about your dark night of the soul. Because that will obviously lead us into how and why you're in your soul purpose work.
Yeah. Well, it was where I was completely challenged in every aspect and every cell of my body about my passion and what I believed. And I was basically being persecuted for working the way I was working, for respecting birth as a sacred process, for holding space for birth, and for respecting women's feelings in the birth process was seen as a bad and negative thing, because it's much safer to do things in a robotic way with a tick and flick process. Then you cover your butt and everything is fine. And so what this did for me was challenge me on every single level of the midwife that I was. And because, of course, at the time, I was nothing else. My entire being was just a midwife, and a fucking incredible one. But that is all I was.
Just a midwife?
I let go of everything else in my life, and that is what I was. I lived it. I breathed it. All my social circles were midwives. My friends were midwives. I had left my partner. I had no relationship. Everything about me was midwifery. And I had completely submerged myself in it. And then when I was confronted with being told, apparently what you're doing is wrong, my heart broke, absolutely broke. And it just destroyed me. And for 12 months, I went through this process of figuring out who the fuck I was, because if I wasn't a midwife, who was I? And that's where I found my mentor, my spiritual mentor, and she walked me through that process. And I realized that to get through it, I had to get really courageous. I had to get so strong in myself to look at my fears, my role in it, take self-responsibility for my role in why I have created this situation and what it had to show me. So then what I did was I came out of it 12 months later going, holy shit, I just survived that. And I have come out with a new passion, with a new fire in me, and a new want of service in a different way. And I just went, holy shit, if I've got that in me, every single woman has that in them. And that's what I want to bring out. That's what I want to help women to find.
Amazing.
It completely transformed my life.
And do you feel like, I mean, again, we've touched on so many things. It's like that feeling of identity that often shifts and shapes if we allow it to, right? That is the process of awakening, is are you willing to meet the new layers of yourself? And that's the process of pulling away fear. That's the process of spirituality, but uncovering your magnificence. So that same journey that you're on, but how are the tools that you have that you work with, what do they look like, and how can people experience them to experience that transformation and that level of safety, moving into, even the word safe isn't right, but that next path into the new identity of the she?
Yeah. So we live in a society where we have this belief that we have to experience big shifts, big changes for big things to happen. And I mean, that's not necessarily the way it is, but that's the way that we believe. So going in with that understanding, I thought, I have to create a service that is big, that takes women into the most vulnerable part of themselves, somewhere where they can get absolutely real with themselves and face all of the shit they hold around their body, their spirituality, their sexuality, and their place in this world. And that is where yoni massage fell into my lap. Never heard of it before, never had it before, heard about a practitioner training and went, I have to do that. So I went along in Melbourne and I did the practitioner training, and now that is my primary service, which is yoni massage. And that is an ancient tantric practice where we massage a woman's body, including her yoni. And the yoni means, there's no word in the English language that incorporates that whole area of a woman. So it incorporates the womb, the ovaries, the vagina, the labia, the exterior, the interior, that whole area is a yoni. So we massage that area. And the reason we do that is because as women, that is our storehouse. That is our powerhouse. That is where the divine feminine is held. And it has become a storehouse of shit. It has become our basement of fear because we suppress. We squash it all down. So what a yoni massage does is we go in energetically and physically and shift it. And what you find is internally the vagina and the pelvic space is all ligaments and muscles, and like anywhere in our body it gets knots, and those knots are emotional stuff that is stuck. So when we go internal, we look for those little knots, and they almost feel like little grains of rice or something in the wall, and we just massage those grains of rice. And with that comes the release.
Crazy.
Yeah, and it's different for every woman. Like, every session is different, and every woman comes for a different reason with a different intention. And, and some women are completely numb and they can't feel anything. Some women have experienced a lot of pain, and some women experience pleasure. Like some women experience orgasm, but it is definitely not the intention of the session. It is about addressing your sexual self, but it's not, I am not there to make you orgasm. That is not the point of it. It's about release and getting you in touch with the divine feminine that resides in that part of your physical body.
Yeah.
And it is powerful stuff. I've just had a session this morning with a woman, and just every session blows me away. Every session is so different, and it is just so humbling to see the difference in the woman that walked in the door to the woman that leaves at the end of the session. It's such an honor to be able to do and to hold space for women in that work. I love it.
I just can't even imagine what you're talking about in the way of that level of sacredness. Is my crown gone? Because, when I do my work, like it is that privilege, but when I move through, my own sexual healing in the way of that I do it through breath work and through things like that in itself, like my experience is phenomenal, like out of this world. So I can't even imagine being also the sacred space holder to do that as well. Like I feel high when I serve my clients, but you must be like fucking out of the I'm swearing a lot with you. I don't know why. You always do this to me. So that's amazing, and absolutely so needed. But like, what are the fears that you have had to overcome to be in this space of service?
A lot, and it's never ending. Like even just this week, there's more that has come up, and there's because it is controversial, it is out there, it is extreme, it is. My mother constantly says to me, "Why do you do it? Isn't there something else you could do?"
Have you done one for her?
No.
There you go.
Yeah, and it's just, so overcoming the fear stories around, how will it be perceived? What will people think? A lot of people say, "Oh, are you a lesbian?" It's like, no, and not the point.
Yeah, random questions.
Yeah, and just But just recently, so this week is actually the first week when I am now 100% full-time in the Temple of She. I have given up midwifery as my job, and yeah, and that was a huge leap. And
Yeah.
you know, I went into it so excited and so passionately, and I've noticed this week there's fears rising. It's like, oh my God, what if my bookings stop coming? Oh my God, what if I can't support myself? What if, what if, what if, what if? And it's this constant journey of pulling back the layers of who I am and what I'm offering, and I just always come back to the surrender. And if this is God's path, I cannot go wrong.
Totally. That deep faith and
Yeah.
trust.
Yeah.
I spoke about this with Sarah, who we just spoke to before. And I mean, that's obviously going to be the theme and conversation today, because it is one of the biggest levels of commitment that spiritual soul workers, whatever you want to call yourself, meet, is that if this is my soul purpose work, am I willing to allow it to move through me and participate in the process? But
in whatever shape or form it wants to take. Because, you know, often we start these journeys with an intention or an idea, and as it unfolds, it starts becoming something we did not expect. And you know, I was watching Gabby Bernstein the other day, and she said this line that is just stuck in my brain. And she just said, you know, she was pushing, trying to create something. It wasn't happening. And she said to the universe, what is going on? Why isn't this working? And the universe said to her, your plans are in the way of our plans.
Yeah.
And I just went, oh my God.
Totally. That's huge.
So it's just getting out of the way. Getting out of the way and getting, you know, just getting out of your own way and just allowing wherever this takes me, whatever it happens, it's just surrendering.
Yeah. And willingness. Yeah. Like, I'm doing business, and like, that's against some of my mentors and the way of my work has come through. But there was no other path that was added into this work, because the way in which I see it is everybody's path is going to look different. Like, the essence of what is holding spiritual entrepreneurship is to know yourself as God. Like, I'm just helping people dress it up in a way of understanding how it can be so normal, right, and expansive, and we can truly support ourselves in that way. Plus, there are also a few things where I would see spiritual soul entrepreneurs just not quite like getting it. And that was my own personal ego in the way. But like, you know, a foundation of strategy is powerful. It can help you get through a lot of stuff. But that was my big thing for a long time, was like, why do I love this business stuff? And why is this coming into my consciousness? Because I'm deep in tune with trust and faith. That level of joy that I experienced when I was working with someone or testing out working with someone was like undescribable. So I was like, I'm going to go for it. This is what my soul is saying. So who knows, 2 years I may be like, fuck business, but at the moment it's clearly serving me. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, what better business partner than God? Just,
totally.
Surrender.
Yes. So moving on so fluidly into the next conversation, intimate conversations with the soul. Now that you're saying, you know, not now that you're saying, but now that you have this sacred soul work that has chosen you and you have said yes and you are willing, what kinds of intimate conversations have you had with the soul or with God, or whatever word works for you in terms of that conversation, that have really been paramount for the way in which you are now in service?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things for me coming into this work was needing to address my own sexuality and my own relationship with that. And for as long as I can remember, I have been very deeply connected with Gaia, and she is my main guide. She's
your main girl.
Yeah. and I feel her energy through me constantly, and she was coming through me in sessions, and last year I went on a retreat, and it really took me deep into my own relationship with my sexuality. And it was kind of like, if I'm going to be doing this work with the others, I have to have an understanding of my own relationship. And I had these incredible conversations with Gaia around this work and why sexuality is sacred, and how is it a doorway to God and to spirituality. And and I had the most beautiful conversations with her, where she would just say to me, look around you, look in nature. Where is there not sex? Where is there not sexuality and passion and love and growth and birth? And, show me anywhere where it is not. And it I feel like it gave me permission to do it. It gave me permission to go there and to go into this most taboo, vulnerable part of our society and of ourselves, knowing that I had her backing, and that incredible understanding of what it is for all of us. And since then, because that was the beginning of last year, and since then I've often had many meditations with different goddesses coming through, giving me, more information, further information, and talking about how I can serve women in a deeper way, in a more vulnerable way, to really crack them open and to allow them to feel that power that's within themselves. And it's just like these tools keep coming, and now I have, my 21-day program, which is just the power of it. Because I did it as the women did it, and I was blowing myself away. I'm like,
is this shit, my work?
This stuff is pretty huge. And I was having the most incredible experiences with it. And I was just like, wow, this shit kind of works.
Amazing. I bet it does. I bet it does.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know whether you just noticed there, but when you were talking, I was tuning into our conversation and into the words in which you were sharing, and my eyes just went water, because I have experienced, not working with you yet, but working with that sacred sexual energy for females and for anyone, but that divine sexual energy. And it is beyond words and beyond anything that we can try to ground. And for you to hold that space and to be so willing to say fuck society, fuck the way that anyone looks and thinks and feels about it, and holding that certainty within yourself, because that's what I felt when you were sharing then, was just like sacred mama. Yeah. That's honestly what I felt when you were talking, was just like, you hold that. So thank you. I feel like I'm like just had a session.
Yeah, and that's what I realized about myself when I went through my transformation and through my dark night of the soul. I realized that's what I possess, and that I have to do this work because it's how I'm meant to serve. And if I don't, who will? And if I don't do that, what the fuck else am I going to do? So,
but it's also like, going back to that question, why there is no other choice. That's one of our questions. I can feel in your presence, and also in the way that you're describing that, what the fuck else am I going to do? More so, it's like, it's just you're butting yourself up against the wall if you don't do this work, right? Is that?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, because it's I just know that it is where I'm meant to be. It is what I'm meant to be doing. And I constantly get that confirmation when I have a session with a woman and she walks out the door, and I just go, oh my God, I just held space for that. Amazing. Wow.
For those of you who are watching live now, just go ahead and throw some hearts down, and if you feel comfortable with sharing anything that you've experienced in your path of sacred sexuality or stepping into your soul purpose work, pop them in the comments, because we would love to continue to explore. I'm just going to hold on to Amy for a few more moments, even though we've gone over time, because I am loving where this is going, but also it's helping people and other women in service understand that that is the feeling state that you will be feeling and coming up against when you ever question that is the soul purpose work mine, is that it will just be continuously like slapping you in the face, because that's my feeling state as well, is that every time I'm like, maybe I should just, it's just like, right. Sometimes the physical, I literally am like nullified. I'm like, oh, okay, definitely got to stay doing this, whatever it is. Yeah. And continuously be open. Okay, another question. If you were someone who was just stepping into their path of understanding the power of sexuality and spirituality, what would be a tip or a practice or something that they could start working with now?
I would say to, first of all, go into it with no judgment. No judgment of what is good and what is bad. And because when we go into our sexuality, there is so many negative thought patterns that are deeply ingrained in us, that are ours and also collective. So really just going into it with absolute perspective and not in reactive mode, because you'll fucking get nowhere if you go in reactive mode. Just going in with the intention of no judgment. And one of the most powerful things is, as you said before, is breath work. And just, one of the first things I get women to do in my 21-day program is a breath meditation connecting their heart space and their womb space, their yoni. And that can be for men and women, is just simply laying your hands on your body and breathing into it and seeing what comes with that. A really powerful exercise is yoni gazing, where you just look at your yoni and notice what thoughts come to you. Am I disgusted? Am I excited? And just simply noticing. And again, sitting in no judgment and just observing what thoughts are coming for you and going, oh, that's interesting that I feel absolutely fucking disgusted by looking at my vagina right now. And just, I think that's just a really beautiful place to start. And then looking at, okay, why do I feel this way? And just sitting with that, and then doing your own, meditations, journaling, whatever it is to process, however you process fears when they come up for you. Because at the end of the day, everything is love or fear. So even if it's an anger or it's just a fear. That's all it is.
Yeah. Beautiful. I'm so happy that we had this conversation, and thank you for that practice.
Me too.
And all of this goodness, I'm going to go watch the replay tonight. But for those of you, Aileen has said Amy's 21-day program is amazing. Every woman needs to do it. I wish it was an ongoing thing to keep the connection as a group. Hint, hint. There you go, Amy. Something else for you to create for us. Thank you very much. So where can everyone find you, and can you put the links below that are for your group?
I'll put all the links into the comments. So I have my business page is Temple of She on Facebook, and also my website, templeofshe.com.au. I am on my national tour right now. I'm in Brisbane, and I'm flying to Melbourne tomorrow, and then over to Western Australia, and then to Bali, which I can't wait for.
So you're here.
And I also offer online one-on-one sessions called Reclamation for the Willing Woman. So that's basically taking the energetic work from a yoni massage and doing that online for women all over the world who can't physically get to me. Because I want this to reach as far and wide as I possibly can.
Just giving you a high five there. Well, that was actually a clap, but that is what this is about, is reforming modern soulful service. That is what Amy is doing in action. So thank you very much for sharing all of your wisdom with us. And I think I might just start doing this on a monthly basis because I'm so happy about this. But I do have to go and join. Bronte now is jumping on for our next session. So for those of you who are watching, stay around. Bronte's on next. Thank you so much, Amy, for all of your beautiful wisdom. And be sure to put the links in below because I'm sure so many women are like, get me at her.
Yeah, I will. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you.
Bye.